Hi guys, hope you're keeping well. So I recently got a chat to Wayne Doyle of Scarlet Rebels about the band's forthcoming album, See Through Blue, out on the 20th of January. You know, the themes within the album, which has generally been inspired by the last 2 years of lockdown and COVID and facing those battles, the ongoing donations and collections to food banks that they're doing, both in shows for last year and on the upcoming UK tour, support the album, everything, you know, to do with the album writing process, the recording of it, how he thinks that it's an evolution of from the previous album, which I fully believe. And but I'll let Wayne tell you all about that. And you can watch what me and Wayne had to say right now. And we're joined by Mr. Wayne Doyle of Scarlet Rebels. How you doing, Wayne, mate?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, all good, man. All good. So just not long in from work, and you guys have dropped the video for These Days today. So I had a quick watch of that before we got a chat, man. What a great single off the album, man. Sounds great.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's probably the most relevant one in terms of relevant single in terms of thematically, you know, to do with the whole See Through Blue stuff that we've released. So we've done Storm and Take You Home, which Storm was quite politically relevant. Take You Home was more about the live music scene and, you know, and that kind of thing. But this one is a proper sort of commentary on where we are, really. So yeah, it's good. It was good. The video is good as well. So we spent a day recording it in the chapel. There's like an abandoned chapel in Peckham.
All right.
Yeah, and we spent a day there in December doing it. So the day before, literally about 12 hours before we were due to do it, so everything was signed off, ready to go. Our bass player came down with COVID like symptoms, and it wasn't COVID in the end, but his PCR test results didn't come back in time, so we had to go without him. So yeah, that's why there's only the four of us in the video.
I did wonder where other Wayne.
Yeah. So that's why it was because he wasn't allowed to. Not so much that he wasn't allowed, but we just thought, you know, we can't take the risk. We didn't want it. We weren't so bothered for ourselves in terms of the band, but any of the crew just before Christmas that were, you know, we thought, no, we can't really take the risk.
No, fair play.
So yeah, so he took one for the team. Then he sat it out, but it was probably a good thing because he wasn't well. He really wasn't well, and it was so cold there, dude, that you wouldn't believe. Like, we weren't allowed to put the heating on, or the heaters that we brought on, because every time it did, it tripped the wires of the church, because the place was such an old building. So, oh man, it was so cold. We were like, every time that we were cutting, we would just run into the lights that they had just to try and get some sort of heat, because it was so cold. Like, yeah. Anyway, but no, it looks good, which is the main thing. So.
That's it. People watching, mate, don't know you're cold. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but honestly, I think I came home. We spent all day doing it, and then we did some food bank drops that we'd had donations from people and stuff. And we did that in a place called Pecan, I think it is Pecan, in Peckham, and then we drove home. And because obviously it was about 8 o'clock that we were leaving London to come back to South Wales, and we couldn't put the heating on in the van because, you know, you get tired when you get warm. So. Oh man, we were all like blocks of ice. So yeah, it was so cold, but like I said, it looks good, so it was worth it. Yeah, I'm surprised you can't see my breath when I'm singing on the video. But yeah, anyway, it was good. All good stories that come out of it, innit? So.
That's the main thing, buddy. Like you say, it's all good stories. And like you say, the video actually nods to the sort of food bank donations that you guys have been doing. I think that's just a really cool thing, man. When I heard you guys were, you know, making collections at gigs and everything else that you're doing. I know you're doing ahead on the UK tour as well. What made you sort of inspired that? Was it just a lockdown thing that made you want to do that, or?
Yeah, so obviously we wrote the album back in peak pandemic, really. So it was a line off of These Days, really, that off that song, which inspired it in terms of we were sort of sitting watching what was going on, and I don't know, you know, just the fact that, you know, the Tory government voted to not feed children that were on the breadline over the lockdown, and the fact that the schools weren't in and blah, 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 because, you know, schools are out because of COVID. And and they chose to not, provide food, and then were giving it the whole what's his name, the one with glasses that looks like the biggest Tory that's ever existed. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was like, saying that the sound of food banks was heartwarming, and it's not like, it's just really annoyed me. I was gonna swear then. It really annoyed me to the point where Marcus Rashford obviously took out did the whole social media campaign sort of, which made them backtrack. And then, they tried to sort of PR it into or spin it into, something positive for them. But it's just disgraceful, man.
If Marcus Ashcroft hadn't done what he'd done, there's no way
yeah.
backtracked. No way.
Exactly. And number one, it's a disgrace that they exist, full stop. The fact that, people can't, are living so thing on the breadline because of their universal credit thing, and all that nonsense has happened when, they're all right to go spending $3,500 on a meal themselves, all on us.
Yeah.
On expenses, and the fact that, if they work or they go visiting, they get the opportunity to use their expense account on. It's just sick, man. It's just, it is, man. It's just sick. And I think, like, I used that line about the government not feeding their kids and stuff, and I think in the end we just kind of thought, look, we can't, rather, so we were like literally just going Boris bashing basically with the album cover and all this kind of thing, and it didn't really make a difference in terms of, it didn't have as much of it didn't resonate as much as we were hoping it would. It didn't create as much of a scandal or talking point as much as we wanted it to, because he's just like the Teflon Don, isn't he? So he just gets away with everything. So in the end, we thought, well, rather than just being negative all the time, let's do something positive. And, we just put the call out to say we're going to start doing food bank donations at gigs. So the first one we did was in Cardiff, a headline show we did in Cardiff, and it was mad, man. We almost didn't have time to actually do the set itself because, we had people donating via Deliveroo. So we had delivery drivers turning up to the venue just to, from people who couldn't even make the show. And that was from all over the country. So it was just amazing, and then we did the next one we did was at a headline show in Gravesend, and we ended up because we were like the one we did in Cardiff, we were like, there was hardly any room for us to take the food back to where we donated it. So I was like, Gravesend is far away from where we were, like 5-6 hour drive. So we were like, we're not going to be able to, the amount of food potentially we could be bringing back. I was like, we're not going to be able to, drive 6 hours with 5 people in the band, and our gear and everything else, and tons of food. So I ended up speaking to a local food bank down there, and I thought it made more sense for us to kind of, so people that were coming to the show were donating to a food bank. So rather than us stashing it and then taking it back to Wales, we did we contacted a food bank that was local to them. So they came at about 10 o'clock or 9:30, just before we were due on, and they collected the food, and they needed to bring like 3 or 4 extra cars because people had donated that much. It was insane the amount of people had donated.
That's incredible to have that level of support, bud.
Yeah, I know, and it was just amazing. But it just shows that that it just needs a lightning rod, really, so that it just gives people a focus to, because like you have 100 people, 150 people who just bring along a bag of shopping or anything they've got spare in their house they're not using, to give to people who it's not people that aren't working and stuff. It's just that people that are doing jobs that still can't make those things meet and stuff, and it's just lovely to be able to help, even if it's one person. But I think what we've done is and it's not us, you know what I mean? We've just been the lightning rod for people that have donated. So it's been amazing. The response has been brilliant. So everybody that can just make a little bit of a difference. If everybody was to do that, it does help. So
Definitely, man.
yeah, it's been brilliant. Yeah, I'm sorry I've gone on a bit about it, but it is.
Don't need to apologise, man. It's something that needs to be talked about, dude. At the end of the day, I think it's really important, especially with
Yeah, I think.
the world the last couple of years. And like you say, well, I'm from a northern working family where my my granddad and everybody worked in the mine, so I'm exactly the opposite of a Tory. So
yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's not
even a
all
political thing, is it? It's a human.
no, it's a social thing. Yeah, exactly. And I think like yeah.
How can you justify not support when you're a government supposed to be looking after everyone in the country, no matter what their background? How can you justify not spending money on kids who, like you say, it's not people who are, dossers and druggies or whatever. It's people who are working hard, and because of the way the government falls with their minimum wage, that doesn't cover the minimum cost of living. Are having to rely on these things. And initially, it was free school meals that were helping them get through the day and all that kind of thing. And to let a child go hungry, that's just wrong. And no matter what your political standing is, that's just wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. And yeah, and that was it. Like I said, we were having like we were doing social media posts and sniping, and it just didn't. In the end, it was like, look, we can either just be bitter about it or use, and I am bitter about it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think like it's annoyed a lot of people, and it's specifically annoyed us. But I thought we kind of talked about it, and we just went, well, let's at least and this was the guys in Zurich that were involved, in those discussions as well, and we kind of went, well, let's try and let's just make a difference. And I know that there's been venues and stuff, and I know the guys that the promoters that put on the show that we did in Gravesend were so taken aback by their response that every show that they put on, I think they do the Rock Cooperative guys down in Gravesend, they do one once a month.
Yeah.
So they're going to start doing that. Just doing a food bank donation every month themselves, because
that's cool.
So it's just little things like that. And I know there's the Rock and Roll Circus based in not Mid Wales, in like the valleys in Wales, like around Abertillery and stuff like that. They've always done things like that as well. So the more that sort of sparks off, the more people will be helped, and so it all. Every single donation, whether it's just a pot noodle or a tin of beans, it all helps. So it's been good. It's been good, and if we are helping make a difference, then it's achieved something at the end of the day, isn't it? So
definitely, man. Obviously, those themes are running through the album C3 Blue, which is out. Is it the 20th of Jan it comes out?
Yeah, so it's released on the 28th of January. It's out on the 20th. You can pre-order it now. On eric.com/Scarlet Rebels. I'm so used to that now, because it's been months of doing it. But yeah, so you can pre-order it now, but the album will actually drop on the 28th. So like you said, there's a lot of themes running through it. So
do you think that made for like a more cohesive album than the predecessor to it, than your debut? Do you think it's made more of not conception piece as such, but more of a sort of cohesion, because a lot of the themes are the same, are running through, and you're talking about what's happening here and now, sort of thing?
I think so. I think even the everything on there, not everything touches on it, like in terms of politically, but socially. There's a lot of stuff like that. A lot of even like a throwaway line from a lyric or something. Just in the way that it was written, because we were contractually due to deliver an album to a previous label by the end of the year, so it needed to be finished by the end of the year, the end of last year, not last year, the end of the year before. So 2020, so it needed to be finished and delivered to a roll label by the end of 2020. So we were on a schedule to do that, and that was where it was. So I think at the time, all that stuff was going on with, Marcus Rashford not necessarily calling out the Tories, but, all that stuff was going on. And there was, I was seeing things like the people on the you had people offering their PPE and stuff to the NHS and companies that were making a difference, and people working in Tesco's and supermarkets and stuff, whereas the government were refusing it because they were setting up their own little backdoor companies that were winning multi-million-pound contracts off the back of it. And just watching it was just like, this is just wrong. You know what I mean? You've got people who are literally struggling for breath, who are literally dying in hospitals, and you've got the NHS staff who are going in, putting their lives at risk, having to wear all that, get-up they've been wearing, etc., for 12-hour shifts a day, and going above and beyond, having holidays cancelled, yada yada yada. And then you've got our government, who are meant to be leading the country, setting up companies, or their brothers or sisters or wives or husbands or in-laws, whatever, setting up companies that were winning contracts for millions of pounds on things that they'd never, worked in before. So it just stunk again, it just stunk to high heaven. And so I think that theme, because it was all I needed to write, so it wasn't the case of I was writing songs through the year. It was a concentrated period of time that over like perhaps a month that I sort of knocked all the songs out and lyrically, and yeah, it just has sort of all bled into the next, really. So some are angrier than the others and whatever, but it's just I think it has made a more cohesive album. I think the fact that we needed to record it in such a short frame of time, and we were going in the way that we did it, has made that we perhaps didn't spend as long as we would have, or as we did on the first album, which I think has just made it fresher. And it's got there's not so much going on in terms of not so many the same guitars being overdubbed and stuff like that. So it just feels like a better album to me, to be honest. Yeah.
From the singles I've heard, obviously waiting on the album to be released, but from the singles I've heard from you, mate, it definitely sounds like a progression on from from Show Your Colours, which I enjoyed. It was a great debut album, but this definitely feels like a few steps forward, a few steps down the line.
Yeah, I just think that's just a thing from the whole band itself. We more used to each other because Show Your Colours was our first attempt, as in 5 of us together. So I think we've obviously done hundreds of gigs since and stuff like that, and got used to each other in the way that everybody plays and whatever. So, and the way we write and work together. And I just think
I was going to say, it's the way that you write this album, like as a band, has that changed from Show Your Colours, or?
Yeah, pretty much. So I think Show Your Colours was, a bunch of songs which I'd written and then tagged on with a few that perhaps me and Chris and I had written, like music Chris had provided, and I'd written the lyrics and stuff on top of it. The way that we did this one was, it was kind of similar, but we'd worked on some of the songs in sort of rehearsals and stuff like that, and on sound checks on when we were gigging and that. But then obviously everything was pulled, so we couldn't even rehearse. And like I said, we needed to deliver this album, so we had like ideas flying back and forth on WhatsApp and stuff like that. And we just kind of went into the studio, and Chris would lay the composition down of the songs that he'd written. Josh would do the same, and then I did the same for mine, and then we built the tracks up from there. And then, so Josh had a bunch of songs that I'd not heard the compositions for, so then I would take those away, and I would sit with headphones on and sort of write the melodies and the lyrics, and just formulate those ideas from it that way. So it was a totally different way of working. So like there's a song on the album called London Story, and Josh, so when he put the composition of the song down, I just kind of said to him, and he'd called the working title Hemel, so I asked him, why is it called Hemel? And he said, because I wrote it when I was living in Hemel Hempstead. So now Muggins here thought that Hemel Hempstead was in London until like a bunch of people have gone, it's nowhere near London. I'm like, no, okay. Anyway, so I thought it was in London, and then I formulated this idea in my head. I was like, right, so what I wanted to do was the boys were delivering working titles for the songs, and I was like, the titles were sparking images in my head about, I think like I wrote London Story then about the fact that two people meet in a bus stop in Hemel, they fall in love, the guy goes out on a night out in London, does whatever he shouldn't do, and then the love of his life leaves him, blah, blah, blah. So I was just using these little sort of working titles and stuff like that, just to spark off my imagination about what the theme of the song was going to be and stuff like that. So yeah, it was totally different, but I think it's worked out well, to be honest. So
is that how you would normally sort of go from a sort of rough title and then go outwards, or?
Well, I mean, we wanted to write we wanted to write the composition of all the songs and have the structures of the songs and stuff written from our rehearsals. And that was what we'd agreed. Yeah. But like I said, everything was shut, so we weren't able to go and rehearse anywhere. So yeah, it was just new, really. I mean, like, there's a song on the album called I Can Sleep Now. So I've always had this thing where somebody might say something, or I'd watch a TV program, or somebody will, I don't know, say a saying or something, and I'll go, I quite like that, and it would just spark little, I don't know, sort of ideas about what that could mean to certain different people and that. So with I Can Sleep Now, I was watching the series Afterlife by Ricky Gervais. So we were in the middle of recording the album, and I hadn't written the song at the time. And I was watching the series. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
yeah, I was a big fan.
Yeah. So when there's a scene in it where he's watching a video of his wife on his iPad, and she wants him to say to the iPad, "I love you," or something like that, and then he does, and then she replies to him from the iPad the recorded message saying, "I can sleep now," or "No, I can sleep," or something like that. And I just really like the imagery of it, so I made a note of it in my phone, and then basically went to sleep. And then I think we were looking for one extra song, and then it just fell out of the air, and I just had this working title to sort of, work around, really. So yeah, I do kind of work with that in just terms of random sayings, or I don't know, headlines or something like that I'll see, and I'll just go, okay, I like that, and then store it and then use it later on down the line. So yeah.
Sometimes you do get like those sort of, one of better terms, the seeds of songs from very random places. I look forward to hearing that. Man, the Afterlife sort of, the reason it spoke to me personally, the series, going a bit off topic, was I lost my dad to cancer in 2010, which is why I set up the whole Just Push Play festival, and it's all, in memory of him and raising money for the hospice. So watching a series which was looking back exactly the emotions, or a lot of the emotions I went through after losing my dad. There's a scene in it where it's right at the beginning, and two little sort of teenage lads try and mug him, and he just goes for him and goes, "Bring it on." And I remember doing that. I was living in Norwich at the time, and I was all right at work because I was sort of busy, busy at work.
Yeah.
At the time, I was with my then girlfriend, now wife, but we weren't living together then. I just had my flat on my own. But going back to my flat, it was like dead space. No one was there, and it was just me and my thoughts, and I didn't like it. I couldn't cope with it at the time. It was too much. So I would just go walking around where I lived at night time, and I had the exact same thing happen pretty much. I had some guys come up to me, pull out a knife and give me your wallet, and I went, nah. No. And I was watching this scene, and I'm going, oh shit. And I'd never told Jo about that.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. And she went, what? And I went, well, I've never told you this, but pretty much. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing that song off the album now.
Yeah. It's probably one of the best ones I've written, because I used a lot of the stuff that I've been through personally within the last 2 years as well for myself and that. So sort of put a lot of that into it as well. So I'm sorry to hear about your dad as well, by the way. It's a really cool tribute though that you've done, because obviously that the festival that you put on is banging, man. It's one that all the bands want to play, like, so that's full credit to yourself.
Thanks, man. That means a lot to me. Obviously, like I say, it was all 5 years ago. We were mates bands in a pub, and now we're got the Apex, which is a great venue, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
obviously the Crows headlined it this year, I should say. No, it was last year now, and we got into
It was
2021.
last year. Yeah, yeah.
So we got the Crows. It had the Crows last year. We got Phil Campbell headlining this year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
No, fair play to you, man. It's good. Just like you said, I mean, using what was obviously a really shitty negative thing into something so positive. It's good. So yeah.
in a selfish way, it gives me a focus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I needed for a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to get it, and I didn't realize I needed it until I found it almost.
Yeah. I understand that totally. Yeah, I get it. Totally.
But going back to the album itself, obviously going out touring. Just January, end of January, the tour starts, isn't it?
Yeah, so it starts on the 20th in Leicester. So we got 3 dates. We got Leicester on the 20th, Bradford on the 21st, and then Bathgate on the 22nd. And then we have the rest of that week off until the following Friday, which is the 28th, which is the release date. So we're going to be out on the 28th through to the following Friday. And then we have another week's break, and then we got 2 dates to finish it off the following week. So yeah. So it's busy. Yeah,
man. Well, I'll be coming down to the Norwich show I think it's on the 1st. I think it's the 1st of February, the Norwich show. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's it's one of them we needed to happen because we were meant to be touring, but Cherry gone in end of November, beginning of December.
Yeah, of course, I was supposed to be coming up to the Blackpool show at I forgot the name of the venue now.
Yeah, the Waterloo. Yeah,
Waterloo. Yeah, I was supposed to be coming up to that because it coincided with mine and my mate's birthday, and we both big Buck Cherry fans, so we were going to meet up halfway because he's from sort of Cumbria, so we were going to meet up and have a bit of a lads few days. So yeah, I forgot
nice, yeah.
It was you guys, and it was Damon Johnson as well, wasn't it?
That's it. Yeah. So that we were really looking forward to it, and then obviously COVID put paid to that. So whatever.
It's been paid to a lot of stuff, unfortunately, last couple of years.
I know. Never mind.
But you've managed to do some cool shows last year. I mean, we talked about the Crows earlier, and you got to do the show in the Card Castle with the Crows. That must have been really cool.
Yeah. Oh, it was just something else. It was just so surreal. The way I think about it now, it's just like, what on earth? I mean, we were, it's like one of those, it's like being part of an FA Cup winning side when you're the substitute that doesn't get off the bench. Do you know what I mean? Because it hasn't really got, the success of it hasn't really got anything to do with you, but you're there. But it was, it's just amazing to be part of. I mean, they'd sorted out within, it was the easiest gig we've ever promoted because they'd sorted out before we were even announced on the bill. So it was fantastic, man. It was, and the boys they're just an absolutely amazing band, but they're just so nice. Like, they're just such nice boys. And Cardinal Black were playing as well, and they were amazing, and they're really good guys as well. And yeah, it was just a really, really good day. And obviously there was a lot of Welsh pride and heat right going around, and it was good. It was great. And it was just so surreal to be stood on stage and looking out, and you can see the Millennium Stadium in the background with Cardiff Castle up on the hill. And I was just like, that's an ambition, just to be able to play Cardiff Castle. So it's just, to tick that off, albeit off the back of, somebody else. But we've still done it. It was amazing. It was such a good day. Like, brilliant.
So I bet it was a hell of a place to be, let alone play.
It was just amazing. Just the way that it was just all set up and everything. Just it just went with, like, those kind of things that just go like clockwork. And yeah, it was brilliant. It was, and we were on quite early considering the door time opening and stuff, but the place was packed. Yeah, it was just such a good day. Like, yeah. So seems like a lifetime ago now, though. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, it was nice and sunny and everything, and now it's all dingy and whatever. But there we go. Yeah, it was a great day, man. It was it was such good memories. Like, yeah.
I bet, man. So obviously, other than the release of the album and the tour itself, what's the rest of the 2022 hold for you guys?
Yeah, so we've got the album coming out. Obviously, we're looking to try and put it into the UK top 40 album chart. So, you know, pre-orders and all that kind of thing are absolutely vital at the moment. We've got the tour to support it. And then we're going to Germany to do Rock Blast in March. Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. That's going to be amazing. We're doing Rockstock, Planet Rockstock in Leamington Spa, I believe it is. No?
Oh, you're at Winter's End, are you?
Winter's End, yeah. Not
Oh,
Rockstock,
cool.
Winter's End. Yeah, we're there, yeah.
Then. I didn't realise. Yeah, of course you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've got the...
yeah. So we're playing that in March. So we're then going across to Germany to do the Rock Blast in the middle of March. And then towards the end of March, we got a festival in the Paddy Pavilion in Swansea, Sound Bay Festival. It's got a few festivals. We're doing Rock in the Bowl. We're doing Kendall Calling. We're doing we've got plenty of gigs all over the place. You know, but if they go ahead, obviously we've got a few Hard Rock Hell shows. We've got one in Lincoln with Raz White's upstaged promotion company.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a few, yeah. So it's going to be a busy year, definitely, yeah.
Oh, well, if you're not too busy at Winners, then we'll have to meet up and have a beer.
Oh, 100%, mate. Yeah, definitely. We'll be knocking around all day because, you know, the quality of bands are going to be on. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's going to be good.
Good lineup, that one.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
All right, man. So, you know, platform's yours, dude. It's a couple of weeks before your album's been released. If anyone's not pre-ordered it yet, what you got to say to them?
All right, cool. So, our brand new album, See Through Blue, is out right now for pre-order. It is as socially and politically relevant as it was when we recorded it, due to the fact that people that run our country are numbskulls. So you can pre-order your own copy at eric.com/Scarlet Rebels. And we're literally at the point now where every single copy pre-ordered will potentially make a difference. So yeah, to those who have, thank you very much. And thank you very much for your time, mate. I really do appreciate the opportunity to chat to you.
No, pleasure's all mine, dude. Pleasure's all mine. And one final thing before you go, dude. At the beginning of the interview, I'm going to play These Days, with it being the latest single. But at the end of the interview, what song of yours would you like us to play?
Take You Home.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Well, thanks as always, Wayne. Cheers for your time, dude.
No, thanks, mate.